right. All right. Welcome. Sci-Fi Express Lane, Jeff Carroll here. Really nice weekend. Did a anime convention and ran into some people that I hadn't seen in a while, and we ended up talking about, of course, my Kickstarter. I'm gonna put it in the link, but horror and what my favorite horror is, what type of horrors I like, and where demons come from, and what are my demons, things like what do I think a demon is, how do I write demons in my stories and stuff like that. So that's what I want to talk about today, demons and horror, right? So welcome to Sci-Fi Express Lane. My name is Jeff Carroll. I'm a science fiction writer, a horror filmmaker, award-winning filmmaker, comic book creator. That's me. And I just want to talk about demons. Like, what are demons? I have this current Kickstarter project, Hellmonic Streets, right? And I didn't want to call it demonic, sound like it was already out there. Hell seemed better. So I said Hellmonic, like demons come from anywhere else than hell, right? And maybe they are, the thing, we have our own demons, and that is they're not necessarily from hell. So maybe not all demons come from hell. Anyway, in this story, I'm dealing with two demons per se. One is Krampus, and I wrote a black version of Krampus, which I think everybody will like. Tried to be original, and I go back to my strengths. So I know a lot about black culture. I happen to be black, so my characters come out with a black element. It's like I said, I'm trying to be different, and then I try to write to my strengths, and that's where it is. So I wrote a black Krampus who is pretty much a conservative. Me learning about Santa Claus very early on, probably in high school, I learned that the Kris Kringle that we know is an evolved character. And he didn't start as the good guy, even the celebration of Christmas didn't start the way we celebrate it now. And it wasn't always celebrated. Of course, it's a European holiday, right? The one that we celebrate here in the States with the Christmas tree, Santa, mistletoe, like a lot of those things are straight from other aspects of European culture, like the Christmas tree. Christians would call it a pagan symbol, but now they adopted it. I don't know what they call it, right? We got a big one in Radio City, Rockefeller Center. You got the biggest Christmas tree, or whatever they do every year, and supposedly that's a symbol of Christmas, right? But where Christ was born, there was no Christmas tree, so that's a adapted symbol. And then you have, and you can Google. Not really getting into the history of it. I'll Google right with you. I take from the history what I need to take and write with it. So the other element is this guy. The whole celebration of Christmas, right? Because this factors into my creation of my black Krampus, right? So the other aspect of Christmas is that it was a way in England for them to do something for the poor, because they had a really strong class system. You were rich or you were poor, right? And the rich let the poor into their houses for dinner for Christmas, and that was their ceremony, sort of to give them something so they wouldn't have so much animosity throughout the rest of the year. All right, and that's that. And then you have the Santa Claus character, and Santa Claus was a punisher when he first started. You don't do good, Santa will come and punish you. And I think it was a Norse holiday, or Norse character, and that was who he was. And then you had, the Krampus, which sort of was Santa Claus, and but at the time when Santa Claus separated from being like a punisher of bad, Krampus maintained that and then became an adversary. And Krampus is, I think he's German, right? But it was very similar, because you're dealing with the same region of the world. It's, drivable, okay? It's, from the Anglo-Saxon areas, the Norway area, and Germany. Those pretty much are all the same people. They just developed different languages because of the people they interacted with. So, learning that about Santa Claus kind of changed opened my perspective. So I created this character, a black Santa, right? Or a black Krampus, whatever you want to call him. And he was a punisher of the bad. And the way I wrote it was he worked with Santa, and he differed with Santa. Santa was this guy who punished the bad in my story, but as he got older, he changed his philosophy. He evolved, and he became a liberal, right? And he said, you know what? I think we can encourage people to do good if we reward the people who do good. And maybe at the time the world was so bad that they felt that, golly, we'll be punishing everybody, and that's not working. So maybe we need to try to do good, right? So this is all my philosophy or my mythology. And Krampus did not agree with him. And Krampus was a practitioner of magic, right? He created the sled. He created the magic gift bag, right? Or the magic bag, which Santa kept. And it was really a bag that you could pull anything out of. And when Krampus was plotting a takeover of Santa's lab with the Twa people that he had working there, because I'm going to use my other mythology and have the Twa people be the elves that work in Santa's lab, Santa's toy factory, right? I'm going to have them be Twa people, very much like the leprechaun lore or folklore, right? And in this, he sort of exploits them, you know what I'm saying? And Krampus uses that against him, tells him that he's not a noble man and all this. But before Krampus could launch his thing, Santa turns him into a demon, uses his own magic against him, and sends him to hell. And so that's what my Krampus, comes from. He's got the satanic horns. He's got the half body of a goat, and that makes his Lord. Why did I make him a demon, right? Why did I embrace the Krampus demon? I could have just made him an opposition Santa Claus, but I decided, no, I don't want to do that. I wanted to play with a little bit of the believability, because we are in a world where almost everything we know is a lie. You know what I'm saying? You'd be like, not started, but one of the very first things I learned was Thomas Edison. And then you find that Lewis Latimer made the part of the light that lights up. Thomas Edison just formatted it into a bulb and glass. That's nothing. Sure, it illuminates it, but I don't even know who came up with that. But we learned, coming from New Jersey, we learned about Edison. Like, our electric power company is called Edison. You know what I'm saying? So we learned all that. There's nothing called Latimer. You know what I'm saying? So that became like a go-to thing. There's something black behind every story. They're going to tell you this, but really a black man did it. Columbus discovered America, but he ran into black people in the open sea, and they brought him and they guided him because they had been traveling back and forth. That's true, right? But we're not going to learn that. We're going to learn that he was lost, he found America, right? He's not going to say he ran into people who told him where America was, because then again, he can't discover it. But now we know he didn't discover it. So anyway, I wanted to put him there. Now, would Krampus, in my lore, be a bad guy? No, right? Punishing people who don't do good, who actually do bad things, it's really not a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, of course, if he's killing them, killing is bad no matter what, but that's crazy. And, the lore of demons are that they are some type of birth bad thing that comes from the devil, right? Comes from hell. And in my story, Krampus goes to hell. And of course, he becomes a demon. He might have been a demon before that, but now he's a demon and he comes back to earth, and that's where my story takes place. But my lore is all of that. That's his backstory. Now you take in my Slushy Man. Now, can't really tell you so much about Slushy Man because his origin story is the story in the comic book. But I will tell you that he's not a demon either. He's not a demon before that. He's a spirit that is jaded and it becomes a demon. So he is, for all intents and purposes, at the time of the story, he is a demon from hell. And he's a demon from hell that possesses people, right? And I'm still not giving any of his story away. I'm just talking about the construction of him. And sometimes we do look at demons as negative energy that takes hold of us. And we call that negative energy, we personalize it, and we call it a demon. And so that is what my Slushy Man is. And he constitutes himself as dirty New York snow. So that much, is, I'm not giving the story away. So that fits more of the classic demon story, right? I'm summoning these demons from hell to do my dirty work or to release them on earth to commit sin and go crazy, bring hell on earth, right? So that's what we think. And let's switch it, right? Because going back to the question that I was asked was, what do I like? What kind of horror movies do I like? And again, Hellmonic Streets are two of my stories, and they are good examples of what I like. So I like action horror. I don't like gore horror. And as wild as it is, Weapons that came out 2025 is a movie that I would say is a good example of a horror movie that I like. I like, probably my poster child where they got it all right was Freddy vs. Jason. Now, Jason, Michael, Freddy, all of those I like. Halloween 2 was the best Halloween. Then they got good towards the end, but they dragged it on too long. They needed to move away from his sister and him relationship because now it seems like everybody else is collateral damage and he doesn't really get to people. I like Jason. That's classic. His story was told in Freddy vs. Jason better than any of his movies. And then Freddy. Oh my God, Freddy is a pedophile who probably even has a nicer origin to how he became a pedophile, but they don't want to tell the story because they don't want you to understand pedophiles. We just going to demonize them and that's it. So he's a pedophile who got his just desserts. I like Sinners. We're going to call that horror if we want to, but it's action horror. And I like Aliens. Now, I'm gonna say all the Alien movies are horror. However, it's a little gory, it's a little sexual that I don't always like, but I love the action. Alien Romulus probably could be one of the best. Then, of course, Aliens vs. Predator. And then Aliens 2. That is a top one. I'll round it out. There's things I like about Ma with Octavia Spencer. What's another? And I love the whole Conjuring Nun franchise. Oh my God, the Nun, they do it really well. That really gets me. So, of course, I like Poltergeist. I like Zombies. Dawn of the Dead 2. Dawn of the Dead, the remake. Vin Rames and Mekhi Phifer. That's my favorite one. Then I like 28 Days Later. 1 and 2. We're going to erase 3 and this 4 one. Keep me from seeing it. What else do I like? Oh my God. I said Poltergeist. Boy was good. I enjoyed Megan, the first Megan. What else? Don't Breathe. That was good. So there's a whole bunch of them that I like. I even like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. I'm not really good with the Christian lore, so you don't see a lot of Damien Omen and Exorcist. I respect them, but I probably think Jaws was scarier than all of those. So anyway, I'm a little over time, but I wanted to add that question because we talked about a lot of that yesterday. Jeff Carroll, Sci-Fi Express Lane. Like, subscribe, share, and comment. And check out my Kickstarter. I'm going to put that in the link as well. All right, peace.